Hey there, Super Friends. It's Joey with Last Point Gaming. Today is Tuesday, February 13th, 2018. If you want to connect with us on social media, you can subscribe to our Last Point Gaming YouTube channel. You can friend up our Last Point Gaming Facebook account. You can follow us on Twitter at Last Point Gaming. You can follow me personally on Twitter at Stranger Sparrow. Or you can always reach out directly with an email to lastpointgaming@gmail.com. So, I was wrong about a lot of things with Jace, actually, a lot. 2 and 2 blue comes out with 3, plus 2 is scry 1 on target player's deck. So, you or your opponent, whichever makes you happy. 0 is Brainstorm. -1, return target creature to its owner's hand. -12 is his ultimate price. So I was way off when I was like, yeah, he just seems like, you know, he gets on the board and then next thing you know, he's ultimating. It's gonna take some time. Let's see here, comes out with 3, assuming you just plus, if that's where you're going with that. Goes to 5 on turn 4, 7 on turn 5, 9 on turn 6, 11 on turn 7, 13 on turn 8, which would give you enough to perform his ultimate and actually leave you with a counter. Anyway. Also, was Jace never actually legal in Modern? Has Modern not been around for like a billion years? I don't know. You know, my concept of time is just pretty skewed. Get the fuck out of my way, dude. So, yeah, I guess he was from the World Wake set. And unless I'm mistaken, the World Wake standard, or that was the original Zendikar block. I think that was the third set in the original Zendikar block. And I believe that was the block out right before Scars of Mirrodin. And when I came back, and actually for the first time ever got involved in competitive, well, not competitive, but organized play, was right at the tail end of the Scars block releasing. Like, New Phyrexia had been out a couple weeks. When I bought my first new AG cards, and I mean, even there, I didn't go to F&M. I'm trying to remember now. Because I had the Liliana's Caress Painful Quandary. Oh, you know what? Liliana's Caress was from a core set. So I played during the Scars Innistrad standard format. Which must have been the format right after Zendikar Scars. And I had played like my first couple F&Ms before rotation. Because I remember, like, I finally picked up my 4th copy of Liliana's Caress, because I had the Liliana's Caress Painful Quandary combo. Seemed fan-fucking-tastic. It's awful. Mostly because of the high costs of these cards. So yeah, I had that, I'd finally gotten all the copies I needed, and then rotation hit. I'm like, why do I want to play Magic again? This is bullshit. So, I don't think I ever played against Jace at F&M. That must have almost assuredly post Cobblade. Yeah, it had to be post Cobblade ban. Because again, it was right before that format rotated. And this is another one. Stoneforge Mystic. I'm almost certain was from the original Zendikar block. Jace was from the original Zendikar block. Splinter Twin. I feel like that was from the Scars block, but again, could be wrong. So I definitely didn't get to play against Callblade, and I think that was after he was banned in Standard, but sitting around the kitchen table, I got to play against him, and that may be why I'm so anti-Jace, is like, you know, I played against my super competitive friend who, you know, had been playing organized play for a while. Him with Jace and whatever else in his deck. And me with this shitty deck I put together based on what I opened out of the packs. Because I tried to buy a box of New Phyrexia, and they didn't have quite a box left. So I ended up getting mostly New Phyrexia, or mostly Scars, and then a handful of Mirrodin Besieged and New Phyrexia packs to equal 36 booster packs. And I had also bought a Deck Builder's Toolbox. Yeah, gotta get them Aegis Angels. Because again, I was just getting back into playing, and yeah, products like bundle boxes and Deck Builder's Toolboxes, I don't recall them being around back in my younger days. Like, back then, I recall buying starter decks just for the fucking lands out of them. Because it was, like, the easiest way to get lands. And again, keep in mind, I didn't really play at an LGS. There was this crappy store at the mall that I bought cards at. But it wasn't an LGS as I've come to know them, like, what they should be. I had, like, almost no play space. So, yeah, that was, like, the only way I knew to get a hold of a good quantity of basic lands. Until I discovered the singles dealers at the local Saturdays market. But anyway, so, yeah, I bought the Deck Builder's Toolbox so I'd have land. Also, they were pretty skippy boxes back then. I haven't bought one in a very long time, so I don't know if they're still nice, but, like, for the longest time, that's what I carried all my Magic stuff to the shop in. Like, I put my deck in there. Oh, man, I gotta merge. Yeah. I'd put my deck in there, and, you know, my dice, and my tokens and everything, and I just carry that thing around. And that box put up with a lot of fucking abuse, and it still holds up. Like, I think there's still some collection of cards in it today. Like, some kind of supplemental scent. Like, it may be what we're keeping Conspiracy in or something, instead of, like, just a plain white Barbie coffin. So anyway, yeah, I'm playing this, like, ragtag shit deck that's put together from these products. Not a single card was bought. It's all what I opened. And yeah, I get Jace-ified. Fuck that card. The community seems to have had a chance to consider this more. Rudy did actually do a video talking about this today. He anticipates Masters 25 is going to be a bomb-ass set. I don't know. We don't usually pre-order because the one place that sells locally, he sells his boxes at a set amount. He doesn't play the, oh, well, the EV on these boxes is this much, so I'm going to sell them for this much. No, it's $189 for a box of Masters. $89 for a box of Standard. You know, just a regular set. So we don't usually buy it up until it's released. I'm waiting to see what the spoilers are. We definitely know Jace. We definitely know Azusa Lost But Seeking, because she is on the box art too, or pack art, or something like that. Yeah, I'm still going with I'm going to say with 85% certainty. Oh, you brave. that Bloodbraid Elf's going to be reprinted in 25. But Stoneforge Mystic will not. Nor Splinter Twin. Nor any of the other cards they had the chance to unban from Modern and have not. I could be wrong there, because Masters 25 does not seem to be marketed to one specific format. Yeah, they could be looking to market to the Eternal formats too. But I don't know. I'm interested to see what's going to be in the set. I don't share Rudy's confidence that this set is going to be Value Town. Because Jace with an unban is really almost all the bait that they need to get people to buy these packs. But that's just my opinion on it. I don't know. We'll see what happens. So, yeah, just wanted to correct the places I had messed up Jace's activations. And, yeah, it sounds like he was never legal in Modern. Again, Modern's a format I became aware of like 3 years ago, and then it still took like a year for me to be interested in watching coverage on it or anything. And, you know, start trying to mash together a Modern deck without spending $1 billion. Also, I still think of Innistrad as, like, just a couple years ago, but, what, at this point, it has to be, like, 7 years ago? Something like that? Because I'm trying to remember... I think I started playing again, and, like, going out to F&M, and the first organized event I played in was the Innistrad pre-release. No, I played in F&M before that. Was it the core set pre-release, maybe? And now it's getting really tough to track. I remember there was a pre-release that a bunch of my friends were like, hey, why don't you come out? And I'm like, because my husband's at a combat deployment and I have children. Oh, you can't find somebody to, like, watch them while they sleep? Well, assuming I could find somebody that would, you know, just overnight with them, that still leaves the next day. And, like, Bird was real young. Like, not even old enough to say, here, watch some cartoons while I kind of doze on the couch. Like, she was real, real young. So I think it was right after husband got back from his deployment that I started going out to the shop again and getting involved in the organized play stuff. And yeah, it's got to be like 7 years ago now. My God, where does time go? And, like, I still think of Cons of Tarkir as, like, last year. It's weird. Anyway, that's all neither here nor there. I hope that the optimists are right and that he's not going to completely destroy the format. But I think it was Ross Miriam had posted, you know, hey, just to put some perspective on it, when Jace was deemed too powerful for Standard and Standard was banned in Standard, here are cards that were in the Standard format. All the cards he listed are now banned in Modern. Yeah, like, Jace was legal. Wow. And I don't think it was, like, all at the same time these cards were legal. But, like, Ponder, Get Probe, Grave Troll, maybe? Just a whole bunch of stuff that has been deemed too warping for Modern. They were all legal in Standard, didn't get banned in Standard when Jace was deemed too powerful for Standard. Now, again, this is somewhat of an oversimplification. I don't know. I feel like this odd sense of familiarity. Twitter has, like, really screwed up my worldview. I feel like this odd sense of familiarity with these guys that, like, somebody replied to his comment and I immediately wanted to defend him. And kind of had to remind myself that this guy is not my, like, actual friend. Hell, he doesn't even follow me back. What? Anyway, somebody made a comment along the lines of, you know, come on, this is, you're better than this false equivalency or something like that. So, to be sure, something to take into account, these cards were banned to nerf a deck. That it's not in a vacuum. Golgari Grave Troll is this fan-fucking-tastic card. Or Get Probe is this amazing card that just blows everything out of the water. It's, well, in this deck is warping the format. So what can we ban from the deck to slow it down, to, you know, hamstring it? Well, not even hamstring, because that's the thing, is a lot of times when they ban these cards, they're not looking to make the deck completely unplayable. They're looking to make the deck less oppressive, less consistent, or slow it down. You know, it's like they talked about the preemptive bans to Ramunap Red, because of the concern that if they banned energy cards, Rami Red would become the new boogeyman of Standard, and would be the deck that had 30% of the market share or whatever, and the thing that people couldn't beat. Because, sure enough, energy was one of the only even to poor matchups for Rami Red. So when they talked about that, and like if you go read the article from the last Standard ban, they talked about how they wanted to slow it down or make it less consistent. They wanted to hurt it so that it would leave openings for other decks in the format, but not completely kneecap it. They wanted a version of Mono Red to still be viable, but not deadly consistent. And it's the same argument, I believe, most of the time they make modern bans, is it's not, we want to make Dredge completely unplayable. You know, it's not, we don't want to ever see a Dredge deck in Modern again. It's, we want to make the deck less oppressive to the power level of the rest of the field. You know, same with Treasure Cruise. On its own, okay, you're drawing 3 cards for, what, 3 blue? Or no, 1 blue. What was Treasure Cruise's actual converted cost? I don't remember. Or actual mana cost, I don't remember. I think it was like 1 blue and, I don't know, 7 or some trash like that, but it had Delve. This was my argument for why I could see the ban on Treasure Cruise, but I didn't think the ban on Dig Through Time was necessary, because once you get multiple color costs required, now you can't effectively splash for that card. You either have to run a mana base that puts you at a disadvantage to increase the chances of having double blue when you need it, or commit to blue. But anyway, Treasure Cruise in and of itself wasn't like, you know, the super crazy, you know, oh god, this card's so fucking broken, but it made blue way too strong and it was easily splashable. I had a point and it wandered off. Oh, you're cool. I can tell because of how your car sounds. Anyway, so when these cards get banned, it's not because that card in and of itself is, broken or crazy. It's because this is the card that makes this deck incredibly consistent or incredibly fast. That if we take this card out, deck is still viable. The deck can still do its thing. It's just going to not be as oppressive. So I understand the point that citing, hey, when Jace was deemed too powerful for standard, all these other cards that have been deemed too powerful for modern were in fact in standard, and they weren't enough to keep this card in check. And the other thing is, even Jace himself didn't get banned because he himself was a problem. He got banned because Caw-Blade was a problem. So, I don't know. I do admit yesterday I was completely way off base about my concerns about the Rampaging Ferocidon ban. Maybe my concerns about the unbanning of Jace are misplaced too. The problem is I don't have a lot of faith that this was done after really researching the meta and, beta testing or whatever else. I really think this was done because he's in Masters 25. They knew he was in Masters 25 because theoretically that set's been planned out for like 2-3 years. And Iconic Masters had such a fucking hard time in the market that this was their answer for how do we make sure this set doesn't bomb like Iconic Masters did. Now, there are other varied factors here, like Iconic Masters. One of the big things that hurt that set was it being spoiled 3 months ahead of time. Some insane amount of time that basically we could forget about it. The age of technology has given us all some form of ADHD. That we have such short attention spans because we have constant access to information. I remember listening to my parents argue about whether that guy was in that movie as a kid. Now, the argument's really short-lived. Because it's like, oh yeah, Bruce Willis was, Chris Eccleston was totally in Die Hard. No, he wasn't. Yeah, he was. No, he wasn't. Yeah, he was. Fuck it. I'm bringing up IMDb. I'm asking IMDb. Look, IMDb says I'm right. He wasn't in that movie. Fuck that. He totally was. Nobody's going to be able to convince me otherwise. Because I have, a visual memory of this. And I'm still convinced he was just uncredited. Or he was in some other movie with very similar scenery that may or may not have had Bruce Willis. I'm not even sure that's required at this point. Anyway, it's all neither here nor there. I can remember, some of the stupidest shit I heard my parents argue about. Not in a heated way. My parents are still married, not a child of a broken home or anything like that. But just have these long drawn out arguments that kind of went on all day where it's like, no, because you remember this, this, and this. And you just don't have that anymore. Husband and I get in a discussion about, whether Jabberwockies are native to Narnia. And it's like, all right, well, let me just go ask Google, because Google knows everything. It's, at the shop on Sunday, Taiga. The name of that land is pronounced Taiga. Now, I've gotten this from, old players that played back when those lands were in print, and that's how they all say it, and it drives me nuts every time I listen to coverage and they call it a taiga. I don't care what the correct way to pronounce it is. I'm just going to go ahead and admit that. It makes no difference to me. I have always heard it pronounced taiga, so now hearing it on coverage and they're like, oh, look, he played a taiga. Like, where are his lions and bears to go with his taiga? And, we were having this argument at the shop, and somebody, of course, pulls it up on Google and uses the voice translator to pronounce it, and it says taiga, and I'm like, I don't give a shit, Google's wrong. But, we're constantly flooded with information. So, to release the set list as early as they did with Iconic Masters, and for whatever reason they did it, I know the word was they did it because leaks had gotten out, and so they were just like, fine, we're just going to beat them to it. Maybe it was to prove to assholes like me why leaks are a problem. Because back when they experienced leaks, I was like, I really don't get what the leaks really do to hurt the sales or whatever. Well, case in point. They released the set list way earlier than usual, so by the time the set was released, everybody was over it. Because we had a new, exciting spoiler season. Ixalan, maybe? So, just nobody cared by the time it was released. And I think that is something that hurt the sales of that set a lot. The other thing being, of course, that the vast majority of that set was just garbage. That without the hype of, piecing out these spoilers a little bit at a time and saying, oh, yeah, Mishra's Bauble, that's super exciting. Oh, Horizon Canopy, that's super exciting. We got this flood of information, here's the set list, and it's like, oh, cool, there's 5 cards that I actually want. And 270 cards that... Did anybody ask for this shit to be reprinted? Reprinting stuff from, the Khans of Tarkir block, but not a Tarka's command, Kolaghan's command. No, shitty dragons. Reprinting stuff from Kamigawa. What are there 3 cards from the Kamigawa block that are still played, right? Those, of course, weren't the ones in the set. That's what was iconic about that set, is that the vast majority of it was chaff, and it had a couple good gems, and that was it. That not even a reprint of Mana Drain could save the sales of that set. Necropotence. Yeah, it's a great nostalgia card, which, okay, so that one at least there's an argument for why it was in the set. It is nostalgic. But all these cards that you've never heard of, and you may have even played with them in Limited and still don't know the names of them because they're that bad. That just nobody wanted this shit. Whereas, Master 17 had a lot of the best modern staples in it that people really wanted. And, yeah, it also had a whole shit ton of chaff. But its percentage of rares that had value and mythics that had value was better than Iconic Masters. So, I don't know. I don't know that I have the faith that Masters 25 is even going to be as good as Masters 17 was. But I hope Rudy's right on that one. But all that being said, I'm home now. So, as always, if you made it this far with me, thank you very much for listening, and hopefully I'll talk to y'all tomorrow.